All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to Census Then and Now. My name is Matthew,
And I'm Chris.
and we're with the Tampa Hillsborough County Public Library. We appreciate you joining us tonight. Before we get started, I want to let you know that this is an interactive session. You are watching it. If you were watching it live, you may participate. Please do post any questions or comments that you have in the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel, or if you're accessing this via the app, the questions section in your app. If you have any technical difficulty during the session, we will be planning to post this on the library's YouTube channel probably sometime next week. So you can check it out there, or revisiting it or sharing it with friends or family. We'd be happy to get the information out there. And that is pretty much it. A little bit later, we'll be starting a Q&A, and we'll be able to answer some of those questions at the end of the session. And after that, there will be a brief survey. We hope you'll take just a couple of minutes to fill out. Let us know what a great job Chris did, and then help us plan for future sessions as well. And without further ado, I'm going to kick it on over to Chris.
Thank you, Matthew. I'll say my name again. I'm Chris with the Tampa Hillsborough County Public Library, and I'm happy to have you here this evening for our program, Census Then and Now. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off so we get a better view of the screen. This week, we're in the middle of City of Tampa's Archives Awareness Week. That goes through July 18th. And it's just, it's a raising awareness. It's getting people to know that they can access city records online. And the website here on screen is www.tampagov.net/AAW. There's a couple images here up on the screen from their collection. They've got a lot there. They've got photos, cemetery records. There's lots of property deeds that date back to the 19th century. There's a lot there that you can take advantage of. I encourage you to go there. And it's a great resource. All right, so let's jump in here. We're talking about census records tonight, a little bit of the current census information, and then some of the resources that you can use through the library. And some questions that we get often are, well, the first one, I'll go ahead and jump in. How can I use library resources to search census records remotely? Well, it's a little different with our resources. Right now, we're in a unique situation where all of our resources are available remotely. But usually, while you can access some of them outside the library, some are only available in our branches. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go further here. Another question we get, can Ancestry Library Edition users access information created by paid subscription users? No, they can't. The people who use Ancestry Library Edition excuse me, are not granted access to that information, like your family trees and all of that. So there's no concern there for your privacy. Another question we get is, how do I search for recent census records? You can't. For privacy, again, those records are not released to the public until 72 years after the census was taken. Just recently, a few years ago, the 1940 census became available, and coming up in, I believe, 2022, the 1950 census will become available. So that's just something to keep in mind when you go looking for those records. You have to do a little bit of waiting for those specific records. Speaking of the census, did you know that we are in a census year? 2020 is a census year, and we can all take part and respond. It's even easier now. I will say the deadline to report is October 31st. They've extended it this year, so everyone can get in there and report and take part. Our census is what's called a decennial census. It's collected every 10 years, and the federal government just basically, they do a population count, and they use that information to distribute funds for housing, education, and a lot more. So it's very important that we take part. And like I said, for the first time ever, we can do this online. Now, if you prefer to use the phone or mail in your response, you can do that as well. But I'm going to jump out here and just show you. This website is 2020census.gov, and this is what it looks like. If you navigate to that page, this is the opening screen. You click on Respond, and you will get started. It gives you some information here. You just click Start Questionnaire. This screen, they'll ask you for a PIN. Some of you may have received that in the mail. You're not required to provide that. You can bypass this. and get started with the questionnaire regardless. So again, that's at 2020census.gov, and the deadline is October 31st, so you have plenty of time to take part. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about census records. These are powerful research tools. You're able to locate individuals in time and place. You can place them in specific places at specific times. You can, with those records, you can locate household members, their ages, their birthplaces, their occupation, their marital status. It goes on, and there's so much information there. That's what makes them really useful for lots of purposes, including genealogical research. You can help piece together a view of your family history this way. In the United States, like I said, we do this every 10 years, but there are other types of censuses out there. States conduct censuses. Different countries do it as well, and they do them in different years. So sometimes you're able to fill in the gaps with those census records. Just something to keep in mind if you dive into these resources. You can get more records than just the US Census. And speaking of our resources, we have two we're going to cover tonight. We're going to have Ancestry Library Edition and MyHeritage. Both of these are free with your library card, and you can currently access them both remotely. Go ahead and jump into our homepage. This is our library's homepage at hcplc.org. And to get to the genealogy and history resources, you'll click on the Learning and Research tab. And from here, you'll scroll down to the genealogy and history section. Hold on one moment as I move my mouse. There we go. And right here, under General Genealogy, we have the two resources we're going to cover. I've already logged into Ancestry Library Edition, so let me go ahead and open that page. And this is what the home screen looks like. A lot of you probably have heard of Ancestry.com. That's where the paid subscriptions are created, and account users can access their information there. With the library edition's a little bit different. Mainly, it doesn't have the personalization tools like creating your family trees and interacting with other users. So what we have here, the Ancestry Library Edition, is what is referred to as a read-only database. You're not able to edit records or create records and add them. So if you're wondering what the difference is, that's the main difference there. But this is a great resource. There's so much you can do here. Already from the home screen, they have so many options for you. Different collections, quick links to different types of directories, and just record sets. They have over 7,000 databases available. And last I read, there were over 2 billion images that they have, and it's constantly being updated. So there's a lot here. Obviously, we're not going to dive that deep tonight, but I just wanted to let you know that it's very worth your time if you're interested in this type of research. Right at the top, I'm going to try to focus mostly on a couple of these areas here. The first thing I'd like to show you is the Learning Center. There's these research aids that you can use, and they're broken down into categories, and these are really fantastic. They kind of give you an overview of how to read records, what to look for. As you see here in this purple section is the census. I'm just going to quickly open up and show you what one of these tip sheets looks like. They're really well put together, and some of the members actually participate in this. So they have expert users who chime in and help with the instruction. And you can download this PDF as well. So I just quickly wanted to point out that the Learning Center is there. So if you come back into Ancestry Library Edition and you want to learn more, you can. All right, so let's go back to the home page. And we're going to search some census records tonight. And I'm going to stick to the upper area here and click on Search. And go to the Census and Voter Lists section. And from here, I can narrow it even further. In this box here, there's narrow by category. There's a federal census collection here. I'm going to click on that. And that's going to allow me to search just US federal census records. And from here, like with any type of search, you're going to enter what you know, what kind of information you have, or what kind of information you might be looking for. But I'm going to do a demonstration search right now, and we're going to search Walt Disney. So I'm gonna search, put in his first and middle name and his last name here. Now I'm gonna point out by these name fields, you'll see this checkbox that says exact. I'm gonna leave those unchecked for now, and I'll talk a little bit about why I'm doing that as I go along. But let's go ahead and fill in his birth date. I had to look this up earlier, but I do know it is December 5th, 1901. And I'll scroll down. I don't have all of this information here, but I do have some other things I do know about him. I know he had a sibling named Roy, so I'm going to fill in his name here in those fields. There's a keyword section. I could put in Mickey Mouse there, but I won't. And I'll select gender, male. Now from here, I've entered what information I have, and I'm ready to retrieve census records. So let's go ahead and hit search, and I'll show you what the results look like. And here we have some census results. Go ahead and drag down. There's some search filters up top if you want to broaden or narrow your results. And there's some other filter tools as well. But let's discuss our records here. We have the 1920 United States Federal Census. If I hover over that, it automatically provides some information here. I can view the census page and just kind of get a view of what's in the census in that specific year. Let's go ahead and open up the 1910 Federal Census. I'm going to click on View Image. And this is where the fun really starts. You get a really nice high resolution scan of the actual schedule as it was written in here. And as you can see, that beautiful cursive writing is there. And the highlighted areas here in green and yellow, that's the Disney household from the 1910 census. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in just a little bit so you can get a view. As we get in closer, we can see the Disney family. And right here in that yellow line is Walter E. He's the son, he's 1910, so he's still young and living at home. But yeah, that's a census page there, and we've succeeded in locating him and where he lived. I'll point out, Ancestry has some great viewing enhancement tools. If you look above the columns here, they give a nice text column header so you can see clearly, and it stays with you as you scroll. It doesn't go away. It sort of locks in there, so you can constantly access and know which column. And now we see the row labels are also showing at left here. So that's just a great extra tool that they provide just to make your viewing a little easier. Here at right, we have some other tools. You can go full screen. You can also use some of their tools. You can rotate, flip horizontally if you want to. But up here, I'll point out there's a print option, a download option, and a share option. I'm going to click download just to show you. You can quickly download the JPEG image file for this record. Save it to your computer and come back later. And up here, there's a save button. You will see that when you come into Ancestry Library Edition. The only thing that you can really use in here is the save to your computer option. The other two are for subscription users. So if you see that and you're wondering what they are, they don't work for the free Library Edition subscription. So yeah, I will also point out down here at the bottom, we have some other tools. If you click on the film strip icon, you can go through each image in the 1910 census. So if I were to just scroll through, if I wanted to go to the next page and double click, it's going to bring up the next page. That's just another neat way that you can kind of leaf through the schedule and see other people, other names, and just see the records. It's very easy access. And also there's a silhouette icon here to the right. And that just gives you another great text view of the information as it was entered in by the enumerators. That's the name of the people who are writing these records out by hand. They're the enumerators. So let's back up just a second here. And I wanted to let you know why I didn't select exact spelling for the names. Um, Ancestry uses, and also MyHeritage, they use what are called phonetic algorithms. And basically, what those are tools that help you locate name variations that may sound alike or may have been spelled a little differently. Like I said, there were human beings who were entering this stuff in, and sometimes there were errors. So if I were to select match all terms exactly, I wouldn't be able to access some of the records that were maybe spelled a little different. So it depends on what you want to know. If you already know how it was spelled and you're not interested in finding other records, it all depends on the search and what you're trying to locate. But that's just a search strategy I'd like to kind of point out, that you can make those choices as you go. Also, things to keep in mind when you're searching. You want to think about given names and surnames. You want to think about maiden names. Females who may have been married later in life but had a different last name early in life. That may help you in some of your searches. If you don't know all the siblings' names, but you only know some of them, or even just remote family members, you can try to piece that together as well. But as you use these resources more and more, you kind of start to understand what's useful for you for what situation. Let me go ahead and just go back in one last time before I jump over to MyHeritage. I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to leave the 1910 census open because I want to compare them. I'm going to leave that there. I'll zoom in just a little bit. And we have the Disney family, again, was highlighted in green there. And now I'm going to jump over to MyHeritage Library Edition. And you can get to this resource the same way, like I showed you, hcplc.org. You go to Learning and Research, then Genealogy and History, and it's right here. Now, I've already logged into this resource as well. Let me just verify by refreshing. Yes, I did. Great. This database, this resource is a little bit more stripped down and streamlined than Ancestry. They do also have billions of historical documents, though, including census records. So you're able to access a lot of those same records with MyHeritage. There is some overlap. Now, under normal circumstances, Ancestry Library Edition is only available in our branches, whereas this resource is available remotely. That's just something to keep in mind as we go further and you want to conduct more research. You're going to want to use this one remotely in the future. So this is the opening screen. Like I said, it's a very more no frills type of resource. You're not going to get a lot of the kind of the slick designs and images that you get with Ancestry. Still, it doesn't mean it isn't useful. It is very useful. So let's look at some census records. You can either start searching here, like as you would a Google search. It's very similar with that. You can start punching in what you're searching right away, or you can go over here to the right and choose some categories. And I see we have a US Census link. Let's go ahead and open that up. And here we have the search interface. And I'm going to go ahead and search Walt Disney again because I want to just compare those pages just to let you know what they look like when you search in here. Walter Elias Disney, his male, he was born on December 5th, 1901. And we're going to go further. And again, I'll enter the sibling information in. Roy Disney. And let's say I'm happy with that. Oh, one other thing I wanted to show you really quickly before I forget. Up here in the right-hand corner, there is a link to a tutorial video. If you want to use the MyHeritage resource, you want to watch it. It's very short, but it kind of gives you just a brief overview of the types of records you can access and how to search them. And there's also a language tab here. You can search in different languages. All right, so we like our search. We're going to search for Walt Disney again. in the census records, and we're getting some results again. Up here in the upper left, we can edit our search or start a new search. And as we look in here, we're getting our census records. We've got 1910, 1940, 1930, every 10 years. And as we scroll down, the accuracy becomes, it's less. We're not getting matches for Walter Elias Disney. We're getting other Walter Disneys who lived in New York and Kentucky. So that's something also to keep in mind as you scroll down further with these searches. It's likely that you're going to be finding other people. But let's go ahead and open the 1910 federal census record. Since we did that in Ancestry, we'll do this in MyHeritage just to get an idea of what they look like side by side. Here we get a record page, information about his family, what image number it is in the actual census record, and then the image file here itself. I'm going to go ahead and hit this icon here in the upper right, which will give me a full screen view. But it also gives me a breakdown of what has been entered into those lines on the schedule. I'm going to go ahead and close that part so I can just see the census page, and I'm going to zoom in. Now, the first thing that you're probably going to notice is that it isn't highlighted like it is with Ancestry Library Edition. A lot of those visual tools aren't available with MyHeritage. However, the main thing that you're looking for is the record, and it is here. And you can zoom in and still get a good view of it. And there they are. There is the Disney household, father, wife, sons, and daughters. And as we can see, more information is available here. Now, we're not getting those headers as we did with Ancestry when we zoomed in. And those are things to keep in mind as you're using both of these. If you know what the differences are, you can kind of toggle back and forth. At the upper right, there is a print option. If I click on that, if you don't want to print a paper copy, I would recommend, if you have this option, which most printers do now, or computers, I should say, you can save it as a PDF, and then you can email it to yourself, or just keep it on your device. So that's another option, to just save the image in some sort of digital document that you can access later without having to actually go back into the database itself. But let's look at those. Let me zoom out, and we can just take a little view side by side. Here, let me bring that up. Just give you an idea there. There's our full screen version with Ancestry. And this is our view of the same page in MyHeritage. Not as exciting as the Ancestry results. However, like I said, the important part is that the information is there and that you can get it. And in the future, if and when Ancestry Library Edition is no longer available remotely, you can use these in tandem. You can do your research on MyHeritage at home or wherever, and then locate those pages and those records. And then when next time you're in the library, you can actually sit down and bring up those same records and access them with this view. So there is some back and forth there that you can use. The research doesn't have to stop when you leave the library. And these tools are, like I said, are constantly updated. And coming up in, less than 2 years, we're going to have the 1950 census to peruse, which is exciting. So that's essentially it for these resources. I'd like now to open things up to any sort of questions that you may have. Do we have any questions?
Hey there, Chris. I'm going to jump back on with you here.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a couple coming in. And just as a reminder for those of you, we have only a couple minutes left, but if you want to put in a question, we have time for it in the questions section. One of them was about searching Ancestry. And by, I forget what the box is called, but basically asking, is it ever too much information? In other words, if somebody has a lot of information about the individual, can it end up being too much information to put in if you don't check that matching box or matching exact information box?
That's a good question. Maybe. I think it all depends on how many records are available and how unique they are. Um, I've never, to be honest, I've never ran a search with a lot of information. I think, with some family relatives, I, I had a little bit more going in than I did about Walt Disney. But um, I don't know. I think it's better to leave it unchecked first and search and see what you get, and then go back in, like try to search them multiple times with the exact box checked or without, just to see what you get.
Oh, right, because it's a relevant search, so it'll pull up that way, I guess. Okay, that makes
That,
sense.
yeah.
And I'll invite you to come back on camera with me, Chris, if you want.
Oh,
um,
thank you.
and let's see. The other question was about print collections, whether we have census in print. You can maybe confirm this for me, Chris, if you want. But my understanding or my memory is that we do have certain census records in print, but it's kind of few and far between. They tend to be a little bit older. It's kind of scattered, like some Florida, some Hillsborough, some
Right.
national. Is
Yes,
that right?
that is correct. And those are housed at the Genealogy and History Library, which is at the John F. Germany branch. Yeah, we do have some, but yeah, it's not a complete collection. But yeah, it's some Florida, some county, and some federal census records.
Right. And so that's where the value in these databases really comes into play because they're a lot more thorough than what we have
Oh
in
yeah,
print.
that's true.
Um, while we're talking about the genealogy thing, why don't we? I think we, if we go back to the genealogy page on the website,
Uh-huh.
there are some links to local information there as well, right?
Correct. Right at top, obviously, we have the Burgett Brothers photo collection, which is wonderful. You can explore a lot of photos from, as it says here, from the 1800s to the early 1960s. We also have some African American historical resources. There's a lot in there that you can search, but yeah, there's a lot here. I'm not completely familiar with all of them. However, I have dove in a little bit and played around, and it's time consuming, but it's also very fascinating. If you're into this type of stuff, you can really, as you can see here as well, we've got some very local stuff. City of Tampa Archives, which we talked about earlier, USF Special Collections, the Florida Memory Project. Um, yeah, there's a lot to take advantage of here.
There is, and we're just about out of time, but we probably have a minute to go back over that contact information on your presentation.
Yeah, if you have
Um,
any questions,
you go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, go
Sorry
ahead.
about that. I was just going to say, yeah, for more information, you can contact us online at hcplc.org/about/contact, or you can call us 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at 813-273-3652. And also, there's an extra link here on this page. If you'd like to find out more about how the federal census is going to benefit and shape Hillsborough County itself, you can go to this website and get some information about how those funds help us to stay great, because Hillsborough County is great, right? It's hcflgov.net/census. And there's a lot of information there that might help you better understand why it's important to take part in the census and what type of decisions are made based on that information.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point actually, because part of we work for Hillsborough County, and part of our mission is to try to attain community prosperity, and that means making sure that representation is solidified and is in many ways as possible. I can say personally, I did the census online,
Mhm.
and it did not take long at all. I did it for my whole family. I think maybe 10, 15 minutes at the most, something like that. It was very quick.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very easy to use.
Great. Well, thank you so much. It's a great presentation, and really And like, if you enjoy the presentation tonight, please let us know in that survey that's coming up, and please let other people know that they can take a look at this presentation on the library's YouTube channel sometime next week. And thank you very much for joining us, everybody, for Census Then and Now. Chris.
Thank you. Good night.